Welcome back to the Bibliovert channel. My name is Allie, and this year I will be documenting the books I've read in a reading bullet journal. I'm using the Fuji-san journal from Notebook Therapy. I've worked on 2 bullet journals in the past. The first one was more traditional bullet journal with all kinds of trackers for habits or spending or movies, but minimal space for reading specific tracking. The second one was more reading specific, but it focused on reviewing books or writing my thoughts on them. And it's taken me 2 years and 2 incomplete journals to realize that I don't actually enjoy the tracking side of Bujo so much as the creation side. So this year I'm changing the way I'm going about it by focusing more on that creation side. I decided that I want this year to be more of a scrapbooking or mood board journal instead of a written record. So each month I'll be showing myself creating a mood board for every book I read that month, along with the monthly spread page. But for today's video, I'm setting up the first 7 or so spreads. This will be the only tracking I do, and even this is only writing down titles or pasting in pictures, so hopefully I maintain it a little bit better. Almost all of these designs follow or are based off of designs from other Bujo content creators on Instagram, YouTube, or Pinterest, and I'll absolutely be adding the ones I use to the description so that you can reference and like their hard work as well. The first design was based off work by Plant-Based Bride here on YouTube, and then the 2021 page and the girl reading design were based off of work by Jin Journals and Sabrina Chan Dental on Instagram. I definitely want to share that this video is filled with mistakes or happy accidents, if we're going to quote Bob Ross. I had some markers that bled through, I had some designs turn out differently than I imagined, and I even changed my mind on how I wanted some of the spreads to look. So throughout, you'll see me kind of going back to fix those mistakes or showing you how I covered up things like the bleed throughs. These pages took me about 8 hours or so after work each day this week, so I was able to make adjustments, pencil in new ideas, or buy new supplies along the way. Unfortunately, after the first night of recording, my camera ran out of memory without me realizing it, so we missed finishing my 2021 page and the first half of assembling my index page, but thankfully I go back on and work on both of those later because of the mistakes that I wanted to fix on them. So the index is where the camera cut out, which ended up being okay because the markers from the shelf spread on the next page ended up bleeding through and I had to redo a lot of it. This spread is also based off of Plant-Based Bride. At first I did every 2 lines, then came back in and did every 1 line because I had more pages than I did spaces to put page numbers. A lot of people do beautiful book or spine shelf spreads that take up 2 whole pages, which is just the right amount for people who read a lot faster than I do. Last year, I ended up reading about 42 books, not including the ones that I read more than once. So this year I decided to make my shelf page a little more free and set up 50 or so spines. That way I don't have a bunch of empty books at the end of the year. I don't know if I'll color them in or if I'll just write the titles on the spines, but I will fill them out each month. I love this Dutch door design with the TBR cart that I found from an image or video on Instagram, and I haven't been able to track down who the original creator was, but if I do, I will add the handle in the description below. Obviously, my markers bled through, so what I did was find another Dutch door page that I had planned for a later spread and use the cutout portion as a cover. So I pasted that over the part that bled through and remeasured each month's section. Pre-creating the little brown boxes took me a very long time, so I'm glad that's over with. The next spread that I wanted was a book release spread for all the release dates I knew about so far this year. Since we keep track of them for the podcast episodes, this seemed like an easy spread to maintain. If I can front load the tracking part of the spread, I don't necessarily mind it being a tracking page. And this one is based off of NYX Arts on Instagram. My handwriting seals are probably my least favorite part of bujoing because I try to match the fonts I pull off Pinterest so closely that it inevitably ends up looking weird in places, so I may end up printing the words and pasting them over what I've written. We'll see. We get recommendations all the time through the podcast and Instagram, and since I read a lot slower than AK and Jacqueline, a lot of times I forget what's been recommended, so I wanted a place to write it all down. And I know this page will probably fill up very quickly, but I like the way the spread turned out. For the podcast last year, we released 25-ish episodes after starting in March, so I wanted a space to list the episodes we do, and was inspired a lot by the playlist spreads, that specifically the one that Fanny's Bujo created, and decided to modify it a little bit for our episodes instead of for songs. This is another one that I'll update after each month by listing each episode we did. I I think craft paper can get really expensive, so I've been recycling an old takeout bag from a local restaurant here in Houston as a way to reduce on how much I spend on craft paper. And it's been a great resource for journals like this because all of the scraps can be used. So I pasted those in and will decorate each page as I go. These last two were just spreads that I saw from My Inner Creative and Claire Heffer Designs on Pinterest, and just liked them so much that I decided to replicate them, not really having a purpose for them originally, but just thinking that they looked cute. So again, the tracking is, if it's front loaded, it's easier to maintain, so they felt like they were achievable. So that's what I have so far. I'll be working on the January monthly spread and book mood boards as soon as I know how many books I finish by the end of the month. All of my supplies and account inspirations will be in the description below. Thanks for watching.